China's cars, global design, with 800 units being exported around the world every hour and growing, Chinese cars are redefining modern transportation with a unique mix of AI, new energy, and affordability. But can they also lead global car design in the future, a domain traditionally dominated by Western designers? Welcome to a special edition of the Pointcast with me, Liu Xin, coming to you from Beijing. Now, follow this channel for deep dives on the most important stories shaping our times. My guest today is Dr. Jozef Kabaň, a globally renowned car designer, now Vice President of the Design Center at SAIC, a leading Chinese car maker headquartered in Shanghai. Dr. Kabaň has spent more than 2 decades shaping the identity of some of the world's most iconic car brands such as Volkswagen, BMW, Audi, Rolls-Royce, and Bugatti. At the age of 25, he designed one of the auto industry's landmark cars, the Bugatti Veyron. Then in 2024, he decided to change lanes and gears to move to China and work with SAIC Motor. So what's his story? What drove him to come here? And what new experiences is he learning while adapting to this new environment? With China already the world's largest car exporter, how does he view the future of cars, not just aesthetically, but how they work and their relationship with us as drivers and passengers? So here's our conversation, and welcome to the Pointcast, Dr. Kabaň.
Thank you very much.
It's a great pleasure to have you on the show. I'm not a car influencer, I'm not a car connoisseur even, but this topic is fascinating because it's about culture, it's about people, it's about the latest trends, it's about the future. So I want to dive in as much as possible. If I'm not using the right terms, please correct me. Yeah, so as I mentioned, you had mostly been focusing your professional career and your life, of course, in Europe, but in 2024, you moved to Shanghai, or you decided to work for SAIC. Why did you take this move to begin with?
Yeah, as you already mentioned, my life is very deeply connected with the cars. Over actually 3 decades, it's already 33 years what I'm in the car industry, and it came one moment where you consider many kind of options in the next steps, and one of them, very important, is to understand the car industry is in very big shift. It's changing actually. The gravity is moving more in terms of evolution even to China, and China became to be one of the key places to be, to see and to experience. Mm-hmm. And of course, one of the most important things was to find the right place. It was definitely not easy to make the decision about which brand or which cooperation is the right one for this experience, what I would like to share. And it was clear that it needed to be something very special, and the SAIC is one of them. SAIC is really the right platform for creativity. It's in the size, in the performance, and as well in the attitude, the right thing.
Mm-hmm. How big was this a decision for you?
How would you mean, how big?
I mean, how many changes do you have to make in your life in order to move here? You have a family, right? You have always lived in Europe, you have always worked in Europe.
Yeah. It was one of, let's say, of course, bigger changes, but not in terms of changes what I always did in my life, because it is, of course, the place is fully different, culture is fully different, but my life was always built on changes. All my life I was chasing dream to get better, to simply create not only the products but as well create my abilities, my life to something what I can share the experience. Therefore, to come to China was maybe from the point of view movement was bigger, but it's just a normal step.
You consider it a normal step. Any moment that you can recall that jumps to your mind during the process, when you finally make the decision to make the move? Would you like to recall one moment where you say, wow, this is the moment, it's real?
I know China longer time. You know, being in these other brands, I've been cooperating with China a lot. Therefore, I knew that I'm coming to a place which is very skillful and which is very open for creativity. But when I came and first days in the SAIC, I was very surprised how speed or how quick the speed really is. By watching one of the projects where we just discussed in the evening some changes, and in the morning everything was done, and that was really this was really nice proof that the things can go very quick.
You made the right move. You came to the right
place.
place.
I mean, you know, for the creative people, it's always there are two things very important: that you don't get the answer no, it doesn't work, or that it takes too long. Creative people allow that it goes quick, and no simply doesn't exist.
What do you mean? For you as a designer, or for the car builders, where you say you don't two things. You don't get a no for an answer, and you don't get told this cannot be done. Help me understand that.
It's very simple, you know. Because when you're creating something, you know there's always some way to find solution. Therefore, I really I love when things are not always easy, but I love when they are solved, when the solution is coming, and what I love if the solution is coming quick. The speed is simply part of the life of creativity, that even the great things, when they are too late, they are too late. Therefore, the combination of this ability to get this support in open-minded culture, and as well in open-minded let's say reactions, like the speed is really big issue.
Does that explain what you have just came out, what SAIC has just announced, which is a new series that called Jiayue, you know, the family car. I will talk a little bit more about it. How much is that a continuity of what you have been doing in the past, or is it really a departure, you know, of your past work? Because if I mentioned the Veyron, that's like, you know, the coolest looking car, but then now you're designing for the family, a car that's not known for being cool, but for utility and its future-oriented utility. How would you describe your style of designing, maybe, or what you're expected to design?
You know, one of the main steps in the terms of communication with the customer was for us as already Shanghai Motor Show last year, where we opened the first time the nice dialogue with the customers to show that we understand that there are changes going on, and not only changes in terms of that people are open for innovation, for technologies, but many things are even happening in mentality of the people, the attitude. People becoming to be more proud, and therefore even we as brand Rovi, we have to, and we are very keen to change ourselves as well, to make the next step, to show and to create products which can make these proud people even more proud.
What do you mean people are proud? Can you give an example? For instance, what are you looking for in a car that can boost their pride even more?
It's already the stand, how it's standing. You know, when you look at the car, how it's executing, you know, when it comes in proportions, it's more upright, it's more visible. It's really using and showing all the space, all the size, you know, in the terms of showing that you are already, let's say, important person. And of course, because we are building cars for family, it's showing as well the way how you as well protect the family. You show nice space, you give the space, but as well the way how you're standing. It's not through aggressivity, but it's through very healthy, let's say, statement.
Confidence, maybe?
Confidence, yeah. Confidence
maybe.
is good word.
Okay, that's really interesting, because I think we're in a really big transitional period of time, even for the Chinese. You know, we are moving aggressively towards this new energy vehicles, right? Yes. We're moving aggressively with the adoption of AI, and in terms of how we approach ourselves as a people, you know, we're becoming increasingly confident. So do you find yourself in a very different environment in terms of expectations from you? as a car designer, that people have these needs that you just mentioned. How would you describe the kind of expectations on you?
The expectations are on both sides. I expect as well many things from me as well, the other side, because we have a huge opportunity. This is really for every designer, this is really the great moment to face so many opportunities. We have the electrification, or let's say the whole platform of the cars are changing, the whole infrastructure, the whole view on the product, plus the let's say the technologies which are coming, actually opening lots of possibilities, and now coming the AI in the game. These are greatest, let's say, tools and as well possibilities to create for the people the very exciting mobility. We are here to make people the life nicer, to let them grow with families what they have. And for example, now by our new Rovi family, which is now, let's say, coming, we will see that AI is not only part of, let's say, audio support, or is not only, let's say, small part in the car, but it becomes to be really integrated in the product deeply.
Yeah, well, I'm going to mention this because this is one of your biggest works by now with SAIC, right? Which is the Rovi Jia Yue, and it looks very interesting to me. I'm not a great car connoisseur once again, but it looks very cool. So it has that utility side to it, and it has the coolness and the futuristic look as well, which, so what goes into your mind from a designer point of view when you're imagining a car for the Chinese family who's becoming more wealthy, who are looking for greater needs, more possibilities? How is the imagination process? If you can share with us.
I mean, we have a great team. First thing we have to say, we have incredibly strong team, which is based in a very powerful platform, as we say, the SAIC. We are not only working for one brand like Rovi, but there's really plenty of great brands. And all this experience, all this research and everything is very well connected and as well exchanged. Therefore, we are trying to not only understand what the customer is today and why he's doing what he's doing, but we're trying to understand as well where he's going and what is actually the main energy behind, what is actually the right mobility, what he will look for. And of course, as the design, design is not really like shifting from one place to the other. It's not something like we say now the European design is coming to China. The design is actually never moving. It's actually global thing, which is actually only more and more getting bigger, it's growing, in terms of understanding different cultures and learning from it. Therefore, what we're trying to do is, of course, to create not only first moment of excitement, but as well deeper and more quality experience. The product is not, in the long term, is not anymore just the optic, it's not just the aesthetic, but it's actually the experience. We used to say as designers in the early stages, we used to say form follow function. This was the way form follow the function.
Okay.
But later on, we said the form follow emotions. But I will say now the form, everything follows simply experience.
Experience.
Yeah, the experience is one of the things which makes you feel somehow, and we want that you feel good.
Give us an example. Give us an example that you have put into your latest work with SAIC, for instance, that you have learned from, maybe picked up from, your Chinese experience, or the needs of the Chinese market, the Chinese user, so that the Chinese customer can have a better experience. Would you have, something that you can share with us to help us understand?
Yeah, there are many examples, but if I will say one of them is, for example, to really show it already from the beginning, the experience of communication that you're really showing, not only, let's say, electrification on the car, that the car has almost no any any openings, but is actually elevating in terms of bringing this status experience, but from outside as a shell, from inside very soft. We are trying, for example, in interiors to surround the customer with lots of not only great materials, but as I said, technologies which help us to connect with the customer much more deeper. As we said, the car will be able to adopt and learn many things, and this is what is always going on very well when the newest technology can be adopted very quickly in the product.
So you have to kind of allow the space or reserve some space for the future to come, because people are going to buy a car and they're going to probably own it for a couple of years. So you want to make it... okay, before you answer this question, I'm going to say that magic word, which is AI, because that's... I've been resisting the temptation to talk about it because I feel that it's maybe over-talked, but you mentioned the AI native vehicle series. Now that is, AI is very big, and there are people talking about these AI vehicles, thinking that is just a different thing, going forward. How does the onslaught of AI and AI native concepts impact you as a car designer?
It's a very good question. When we started with AI and we're using really, let's say, every day, very often, even in designing the cars, we understood that this tool is very skillful, it's a very powerful tool, even by creating product, and later on as well by using the product. By creating, it's still very important that the creative part is still needed. There is no any, let's say, pressure in terms of the creativity is going to die or is not needed, but the opportunities to open it bigger, what AI is bringing is big, is giving us really good chance to accelerate certain processes which are maybe repeated. We don't need to repeat it, they could be done by AI very well, but which are a little bit more unexpected. We're using very creative people to always deliver certain, let's say, magical moment. Because in the end, even as decision makers, we are choosing through not only, let's say, statistics, but we're choosing as well through our experience and as well through our intuition, what it will be the right thing for the future for the customer. But when we come, for example, to the AI, as I said, it's not just the fact that I ask something and I will get answer, and I can maybe develop kind of maybe, let's say, understanding with the machine, but this as well is that we have, for example, implementation in the product so that each area, let's say seats, everything, lights, everything has on little bit on brain to react. Therefore, it's not just the audio, but as well the physical adjustments are happening.
Right. So, yeah, what I got from the introduction online, for instance, it says this Jiayue series marks the first time a large AI model has been deeply embedded into a physical vehicle, enabling scheduled decision-making and execution of physical devices. So it completes the AI's leap from Internet scenarios to Internet of Things scenario, transforming the car into the most representative embodied intelligence terminal navigating the real world.
It is very important that we did this cooperation with very good partners from the beginning of process. It was not implemented afterwards in the car. It was actually from the process point of view already from the beginning.
AI first.
Maybe not the first, but was definitely there from the beginning.
There,
was included like important part.
Yeah, and you were partnering with a cloud service platform so that you have the advantages of both sides. Is that the future going forward? Because I was just listening to a very popular podcast, and the guest, who is extremely influential in terms of financial. She's like, she manages people, and she talks about robot taxis, for instance, being the future of human transportation. How do you see transportation going forward as a car designer? Because that's not just the looks, right? It's the whole positioning, the whole function. Or
the fact is, as designer, as European, I was born and I really do love steering wheel. I do love driving. For me to drive, to move from A to B, it's a pleasure. Therefore, I'm from the as well from the experience, as well somebody who love drive, but as well the world is moving in terms of autonomous driving, self-driving, which is as well great thing because it's not everyone, let's say, so deeply connected with the driving, and as well there are many advantages. Like for example, there are moments where it's very pleasant, it's very nice to be took from A to B without needing to maybe take some action. It's very safe as well, and these things are going to grow. The point of mobility as transport is of course changing a little bit from not only moving from A to B and experiencing something connected to the road, to the drive, but again experiencing maybe something different, like for example winning some time, experiencing the...
Take a rest, check your social media.
Many other things.
Watching a movie.
There are many things what you could theoretically integrate it. And therefore, I think that all technologies are moving us to win a bit of time. And time is probably the most expensive value what we have, and
well, when you say win a bit of time, you mean for the person, for the human being as a driver, to be liberated from the task of having to drive. Is that what you're saying?
It's like you are in that moment when you're moving from A to B, you have still freedom to decide how you spend the time. By normal driving, you are in a way responsible not only for you but as well for everything, for any action what you do. Therefore, there is big advantage. Of course, things as we know, they always develop. For example, the speed is like in the train when we travel with the train. Quicker the train, better is, and so on. Therefore, there will be always many things where we will trying to get better. But on the other side, because the diversity, the possibilities are so big, there will be no only one answer for all these questions. And the mobility is such a big topic and such important for us. Mobility is allowing us to come together, today when you think, we can meet through the media, we can meet through different kind of technologies, but to be touched, to come and touch somebody, it's good mobility. And I think this will not be replaced.
Okay. It takes some, I need to digest that, but it's very interesting. It's almost a bit philosophical, what you're talking about. I think we're in for some fundamental, really revolutionary changes in terms of how we drive, how we move, how we exercise mobility, and it's just an exciting time. Once again, are we going to expect very different cars in terms of design? How does that impact your work? When you design, do you think about people behind the wheels? Winning time, or do you think about Veyron being self-driven?
There are many things which are very important in all this issue. It's not, of course, when you are young, when you are a designer, you are just dreaming first to do something, but first you see it more egoistically, like something what you love for you. Even later on, you will do things what you love, but you will understand to share, to do it for other things. But for example, the car is one of the part of very important, let's say, bigger picture where the infrastructure and many other things need to match. And it's not only, let's say, physical, like the infrastructure, like the mark, but as well the psychological moment. How people, how quick they can move, how quick they can. Accepted certain things, certain areas in the world, for example, are maybe more quicker to accept new technologies. Maybe infrastructure is quickly built, but some places maybe take some time. And the point is how to become to be global brand as well, to understand the world, to understand the fact that the let's say the needs in different places are a little bit different.
Absolutely.
And how to adjust it, that you create opportunity for more people than maybe just one culture. You know, if you have something good, why not to share it? But to share it means to be able to give advantage even to the other, you know, and therefore it is very nice but very let's say connected world where we need to do many steps, not only like car industry but as well like the let's say like the infrastructures and everything need to move together. But the dream is, you know, never ending. It's like you know, like artists, like for example the Leonardo da Vinci said, he said this about the art, that art is never finished, it's just abandoned. You know, every time when you do some project, one day you finish, but doesn't mean that this is it. You finish because you continue on another one. And you always try to be better. You always are better. And yeah.
How much freedom do you have to improve on your work, to go on to the next step? You know, how much space you're given working in the different environment? Because, you know, the Chinese systems can be very different, and that's a lot of people's perception as well. You know, here is the institutions are very big. You know, things take longer. There are more things to take care of because before you can do something. But how do you feel about the?
You know, I think the freedom is very subjective, because you can always get as much you deserve, and you have to only do it everything that you deserve more. You know, because everything is about trust, about experience, about many things. You know, I think there is never a problem with the fact to get the freedom. It's more about the fact to deserve it, you know, to really, because it's a responsibility. It's lots of things behind. Therefore, it's a lot about being able to communicate, being able to maybe get people excited for something. But you have to know, by taking people to something means as well a certain responsibility. Therefore maybe I love even this job, because it's more about everyday's challenges, not only from the design point of view, but as well from the point of view of human communication. It's always about having the right, let's say, ability, the right discussion with the right people, and then there's no limit. There's, you know, everything is possible.
I understand exactly what you're talking about. Communication is absolutely
key,
critical.
Yeah.
And that's just not just here. I think it's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, it's about understanding and being understood. So going forward, what is your next big project? Do you have something that you're brewing already, that people, anything revolutionary, or just another small step, you know, step by step forward?
You know, my big dream will be, of course, I will be a little bit pushing for that, but I believe the SAIC has a very important position in the industry, in the mobility, and my dream will be to help the SAIC by this transformation in the next steps. And as we already spoke about very great brand like Rovi, you know, we have as well other brands like MG, which is over 100 years old, and the other brands like IM or the Maxus or Rising, or, you know, many beautiful brands, to be there and to support them by the growth. Because one thing what we learn about China a lot is the open mind for innovation. It's the speed. But as European, I love as well continuity and let's say something like brand. You know, I want that the positioning of the brands grows in the terms of becoming to be standing for clear picture of something, you know, and we are now looking for what are each brand standing for, because it's you know, it's not only about the aesthetics, it's about delivering something more and bringing some answer on some problems. And the platform of SAIC is really the great opportunity to grow in very global size, and this is where we are going to push.
I see. So we're still in this phase of wild growth, maybe consolidation, wild competition. Maybe everything will need some time to settle down, and
you know,
for the picture to be clearer.
Today we have, for example, beautiful moves by many brands. We are enjoying lots of good movements by many brands, but we as well see that not always the identity is really clearly visible. And looking for identity is process, you know. First you have to find out who you are, then you can build your identity. You know, you could be, maybe it's already your identity by building, you know, by finding who you are. But I think it is very important to be and stand for something. And this process is now happening, but you know, the evolution or the dynamic, for example, in China is huge. Right. Of course, not all brands will get through, but it's like crystallization of something nice. And yeah, I hope that you know, and I'm here to make sure that SAIC is playing the main role there.
Yeah. You have such an impressive portfolio, and you have worked for all of these big brands. And you started really early, as I said. At the age of 25, you already, you know, hit global fame by designing Veyron. So to leave all those aspiring young designers who want to make a mark in life, what would be your? I wouldn't say your advice, but what has guided you? Maybe as one sentence.
In my way, it was pretty simple. I had it, you know, we have always some stars. We have some heroes. You know, somebody has Batman, somebody has Superman, somebody whoever. I had it my three heroes. I had it Bertone, Giugiaro, and Pininfarina. This was my dreams, Italian designers. Okay. For me, I love the cars and I love the art. I never been only focusing on cars. I was always loving the art, architecture, and everything around. Therefore, I will just say, if you have the dream, you should follow. Otherwise, you know, nobody else will do it for you. But therefore, if you want to do something, it's always possible. Only first thing what you have to do, you have to believe to yourself. I had the chance to meet great people. I had the chance to work for great companies, but I had as well always the dream to get better, you know, and to grow.
Follow your dreams.
Yeah, follow your dream.
Yeah. Well, all the very best luck with SAIC, and we'll be looking forward to your next great design works. Thank you so much, Dr. Jozef Kabaň, Vice President of Design at SAIC, a leading Chinese car brand.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.